Right, I am gonna attempt to do a video on socialism and socialists, my sort of views, experience, and opinions of them. Right, I'm a bit skitty in the head these days, so I'm not sure how well done this will be. So I should try to explain what socialism is. So it's a social and economic ideology based on the idea that we all collectively own everything. Socially we own everything, and that we all collectively own the means of production and sort of, I don't know, cooperatively share the resources and management and sort of a delegation of tasks based around the economy, based around production, and that we have like common ownership, state ownership, and sort of like fairly equal citizen ownership of equity and capital. It's not capitalism in the same way though. Even though they have capital, it's not the same as capitalism at all. You ask a socialist or a capitalist, they'll probably argue that they're very different political and social ideologies. Sorry, people are messaging me because they loves me. But yeah, so I used to be an anarchist, used to follow politics, blah blah blah. I still sort of talk to them, and I talked to the socialists recently, and I've had interactions with them in the past. So I'll talk about the ones in the past. So in the past, I was in Adelaide, Australia, with anarchists, and the socialists that we were working with and messing around with over there were part of a group known as Socialist Alternative. If you're from Australia, you'll know who Socialist Alternative are. Anyways, essentially, a lot of the anarchists had grievances with the socialists, said that they were a bit cult-like, said that all they did was spend their time selling newspapers and they didn't give a damn about the cause. They were never at any of the small rallies that the anarchists organised or other people organised, and not really on the front lines as much. Um, what I'd say is that's sort of true in my experience, but I'll move on to that. So, anyways, I didn't personally have much of a problem with them in Australia. I mean, they didn't turn up to a lot of our stuff. That's true, but they've got different interests, and they're not going to turn up to everything, just as we don't turn up to all of their stuff. They would come to rallies with us, and I'll be fair to them. They came up in big numbers. They always sold their newspapers. So, yeah, they were all right from my concept, but I didn't see much of them to know about the cultishness and how they were. So, yeah, I couldn't say anything back then in that period of time about them, if that makes sense. But then on to the future now. I hang around with some of the socialists. I go to meetings with members of the UK Socialist Party, which is called the Socialist Workers' Party. And, well, I don't anymore. I've given that shit up. But essentially, they organise protests, they organise strikes and union members and such and such. And, you've got feminists, people who are for workers' rights, people who are for, like, liberation of slaves and blah 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 blah. You know the drill if you're a left winger. Anyways, I found that they were fairly reasonable at the meetings. They talk about stuff, like women's rights, the education of children, anti-capitalism, the general demagoguery. They were fairly well organised. They said that the anarchists weren't well organised. In general, that's true, but it's not entirely true. And in all fairness, compared to the level of organisation of the socialist anarchist organisation, is dwarfed by contrast. Like, these people are thousands and thousands of members all across the UK. I found one thing to be true: they are a bit of a cult in some ways, but not in the way I was portrayed by the anarchists. The anarchists acted as though and to slimily take everyone and anyone outside of socialism isn't welcome. That's simply not true. I've been going to socialist meetings for about 12, 14, 16 weeks. Obviously not now because I couldn't give a toss about politics at the moment. And probably won't ever again, really. But basically, they let me come knowing I'm an anarchist from the start. They did keep trying to convert me, trying to tell me to join the Socialist Workers' Party, and I was just like, shit no, I'm not a socialist. I found, I did go to an event called Marxism in the UK, and there were loads of Socialist Worker Party leaflets. Now, they had 5 days, 6 days worth of conferences on, different left-wing struggles, different socialist Marxist struggles, and workshops on all kinds of things like mental illness, healthcare reforms, homelessness, joblessness, worldwide economics, ISIS, all kinds of things they were talking about. I remember about 50% of them at the end of them, they kept saying, if you haven't joined the Socialist Workers' Party, you need to join the Socialist Workers' Party. You can see why they do that, but again, it was a bit unnecessary. I mean, if you're not part of the Socialist Workers' Party and you're not intended to, you're just annoyed by the end of all of these workshops because you're sick of people constantly telling you to join the damn party. If you wanted to fucking join, you'd have joined. There's about 1 million bloody banners telling you what the SWP are. There's clearly nearly everyone there is a member of the Socialist Workers' Party. So if you wanted to damn well join, you'd join. I feel like it's a lot of pressure to join. And at the end, I felt it was cultish at the end rally when everybody clapped at every single speech without really thinking about what it was. I did it for the first 3 or 4 speeches, and then I kind of thought to myself, I don't even know what half the shit they're talking about is. I'm not up to date with all of this. I could be clapping about the murder of 5 children in Papua New Guinea for all I know. So I stopped clapping, not to be a rebel because fuck 'em, just because if I'm going to clap, I'd like to know that I'm clapping for the right reasons. And I sort of saw all these people clapping speech after speech after speech, and I'm like, do these people even know what the fuck this is about? Are they just clapping for the hell of it? They did a song about the Socialist Workers' Party at the end, and everyone's singing and clapping, and I'm, freaking out a bit like, holy shit, this is some kind of cult. As I'm leaving, I've got people constantly asking me if I want to join. Now, I went a distance total about 100 metres up these stairs out of Marxism, and there's about 10 different people trying to recruit me. No, I was asked 10 times, but there's about 30 or 40 people trying to recruit people as they're walking out the doors. For me, that was scary. Everywhere I look, everyone's like, join us, be part of the Workers' Party, be part of the party. I'm looking like, fuck, what's wrong with these people? I'm just someone who wants to learn a bit about Marxism, make some friends. If I wanted to join the Socialist Worker Party, I'd have joined on my own. I don't want to be bullied into and made to feel like I'm the only person not part of the Socialist Workers' Party. That's pretty unfair. So I saw Marxism was quite a culty side of the Socialist Workers' Party. But not to knock Marxism, it was a fairly good and fun event. I quite enjoyed that. Now, another thing that struck me was a couple of members of the Socialist Party told a friend of mine who's also a member of the Socialist Party that they were voting on something and she didn't vote the same way as them. And they said to her, quote unquote, here's the hypocrisy of it, you should have voted the same way as us. And she said, well, what do you mean? I had a grievance with you. And she said, yeah, but, we've got this democracy, but even though we've got that, you should vote the same way as us, otherwise it weakens our position as a party. Even if you don't agree with the rest of the party, you should vote the same way to represent for the party. And it's kind of like saying, we've got democracy, but you better fucking do what we say, otherwise you're not anything to do with us. It's like me having a guy behind me sort of saying, if you don't do what I say, none of us are going to be friends with you anymore. It's like your whole friend group sort of saying to you, we're not going to be as good friends with you. So that was a little mean, that was a little rude. But that being said, I've not had any real personal problems with them. As an anarchist, they haven't said that kind of thing to me because they can't really exert that kind of will over me. They can't really make me do their stuff, and they're grateful that I'm there and I'm supporting them either way. You know, they can't ask me to do more than they do, and as I say, respect to them. I expected they'd be pretty nasty to me and you need to join every 10 seconds, but now that I've been to their group for a while, you know, they're absolutely fine with me. I come to their meetings from time to time and, you know, they treat me like a human being. We have discussions at the end. I see a few things from them that, you know, they criticise anarchists, and I understand why now. I never really got it before, but it's the same reason that the anarchists criticise them. We don't come to their stuff, and we don't. They organise mass demonstrations and have a lot of people go to the mainstream stuff. Now, the anarchists only go to like 20-50% of the mainstream stuff. The socialists go to about 80 to 90% of the bloody mainstream stuff. What it is with the socialists, though, is they don't always go to all the little events, whereas the anarchists go to more of the little events and seem to do more community-based stuff. Not to say that socialists don't do community-based stuff, because they do, and they do a lot of stuff to do with the unionisation. And they had the same basic grievances as the anarchists did of them. The same thing of, they don't use the same tactics. I think it's minor stuff. I'm able to talk to them and integrate with them as an ex-lefty, and you know they should be able to integrate and mingle with us like they did in our anarchist collective. We had people from the Socialist Party come and talk to us. I think that group, if they care about the left, should just have left unity and stop worrying about all these minor indiscretions. Essentially, they do sell a lot of papers, but they've got to fund their organisation somehow. They still believe in the idea of having some kind of working capital and some form of economy, whereas anarchists don't generally tend to give a shit. They only care about the production itself, not an economic system outside of that production. So, you know, I can see why anarchists have a grievance, but they have to remember that I'm not anarchists. That is the truth of them. They are called socialists, not anarchists, for a reason. It's a slight divide in politics. You've got to expect that to happen. I mean, if you go to a rally and you don't expect the socialists to sell their papers, you're a friggin' moron. Of course they're going to sell their papers. It's in their interest. Anyways, I guess in the end my opinion on socialists is, or it was, rather good, because, you know, they're a fairly good left-wing group. They've got massive organisation as well. This is something that anarchists and low-level communists don't really appreciate. The socialists have a massive movement. They have like a movement that rivals large political movements. You know, they have a big movement. They have a lot of numbers. They get a lot of stuff organised. Yeah, it's all very strict. There's never any diversity of tactics. But to say they wouldn't use the same tactics as anarchists or such is, not true. It's just that they feel like they need to wait till they got a bigger push. So, seeing both sides of the fence, I'm okay with socialists, and I hope they continue doing their thing. I'm not going to be a part of that anymore, but it's not because they're socialists. It's just because I'm not big on the politics. I think it's all a waste. But these are my old opinions and views. And, well, I guess my views now are still the same. The memories are there. So yeah, those are my views on socialism. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.